Hey folks, Dave here, and today I'm going to bring you guys a PC gamer's perspective on next-gen consoles, specifically the Xbox One and Battlefield 4 on the Xbox One. My experience with the Xbox One comes from the Battlefield 4 Showdown Live, which was held a few weeks ago in London, England. I got to play about 14 hours or so of a beta build of Battlefield 4 and the Second Assault DLC on the Xbox One. And here are some brief impressions that I had as a PC gamer playing a next-gen console. To start things off, let's go with the stereotype and talk about graphics first. Obviously, coming from playing Battlefield 4 on my PC at 100% ultra settings, which you actually see here in the background of this video, to a console, there was a noticeable drop in graphics quality. It did not look as great as my PC, but no one was really expecting it to. I will say that graphically it does look much better than it did on Xbox 360 or the PS3 as far as both Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. There is a marked improvement in graphics. At the same time, there's a lot of pop-in. There's still some pretty severe aliasing, at least in the beta build that I was playing, and some muddy textures and stuff like that. What really impressed me though was the 60 FPS that Battlefield 4 was running on the beta build and the beta hardware of the Xbox One. I've got to say that the 60 FPS really made a huge difference in the gameplay. It was just much smoother and much closer to what I was used to coming from PC. Console guys, you guys are going to love that frame rate. Besides the aliasing issues and the pop-in and stuff like that, the game on the Xbox One is rendered at 720p. DICE decided to do this to allow the maximum players, 64 players on the match, and to get that 60 FPS. And here's my thoughts on that decision. It was the correct one. Once again, this is coming from a PC gamer that absolutely loves graphics. I like to have everything cranked up to ultra, full HD, but the 60 FPS and the 64 players, that is far more important than having slightly better graphics on that console. Gameplay wise, those 14 hours that I played at the Showdown Live event were incredible. After a few hours, I basically forgot that I was playing on a console for the most part, and even playing with a controller, just because it is a full-scale Battlefield experience on a console. And this is the first generation that you guys are going to get to experience that. Those of you that just play on consoles, you guys are in for a treat. It was incredible. Once again, DICE's decision to focus on getting that 60 FPS and the player count, that was absolutely the right decision. Hopefully with future Battlefields and future games, we're going to see more improvements in the efficiency of the hardware of these consoles, and we'll see at least a marked improvement in the graphics. Maybe not a revolutionary improvement, but something noticeable. I don't have a whole lot to say about the hardware of the Xbox One. The design is kind of neat. It does look just like a VCR from the 1980s, but I kind of like that. It's a bit retro looking, kind of blocky and angular. My beta unit ran a bit hot, but was surprisingly stable. Keep in mind that the version of the game that I was playing was not finished yet, and the few crashes that we did have that I saw were all software related. It was all bugs within the game itself, not bugs with the hardware. Reboots and all were pretty fast, and the responsiveness of the console was great. I actually enjoyed it. There's also been a lot of talk about how much money Microsoft pumped into their controllers, and I'm a fan of the Xbox 360 controller. I use one for PC to record cinematics for camera angles and stuff like that, and I occasionally play certain games like Skyrim with a controller at times just to get some analog movement going on. So I'm already a fan of the original 360 controller, so I was pretty familiar with it going into the new Xbox One controller. It is very similar to the 360 controller. The texture's a bit different. Actually, that was the first thing that I noticed, was that a lot of the controllers seem to have this not quite rubberized, but not quite slick plastic material. And it was a nice in-between. I feel like after using this new Xbox One controller, the 360 controller just feels a little bit too slick. It's a bit too easy for your hands to get kind of sweaty while using it, whereas the Xbox One controller definitely felt much more comfortable to grip. So that's the basics of the as yet unreleased Xbox One. How about Battlefield 4 outside of its graphics and gameplay? We were playing the Second Assault DLC, so what can you guys look forward to with that DLC pack? Well, first off, this was the DLC that I was most skeptical about because it is just rehashed maps from Battlefield 3, and Battlefield 3 is just over 2 years old. It's not that classic yet. At the same time, going into it kind of skeptical, I was very impressed by Caspian Border, the one map from the DLC that we did play. The changes are pretty widespread. Graphically, the entire time period of the map has changed. It's now 2 years after the original. The season has changed. It's now fall. And all over the map, massive changes have been made to really mix up the gameplay. And it's not just gimmicky stuff. Sure, you have cool features like destroyed, rusted out tanks just scattered across the battlefield from the previous battle, and you know, the old tower is knocked over in the field where it landed. But you also have stuff like this gigantic dividing wall on the border, which is actually very difficult for vehicles to get through or for infantry to get through without punching some holes through it. And that actually really changed gameplay. There was a lot of fighting over who would control that central wall. In addition, the player-triggered evolution of the tower collapsing was pretty awesome, mainly because that involved a whole series of underground bunkers underneath that D hilltop flag. So between what I saw with Caspian and what we saw on the brief glimpses of the other 3 maps from the pack, there are a lot of changes coming, and that's exciting. And it is actually good changes, game-changing changes. Not just minor stuff to be gimmicky and to excuse them releasing some not-so-classic maps in this new DLC. There are definitely some good things coming in that DLC. So, did my experience with the Xbox One in London make me want to sell my PC on eBay and pre-order an Xbox One immediately? Not hardly. Possibly because I cannot make a living off of trying to design things off of an Xbox One, but also because, for me at least, I already have a great experience with the PC version of Battlefield 4 and my other collections of games. I have good hardware and a nice library of games to play. I'm pretty much set in my ways, but for those of you guys that do have last-gen consoles and you are looking for something to improve your entertainment experience over the next few years, possibly even 7 years if last-gen taught us anything, next-gen consoles do have some cool stuff coming down the pipe. Battlefield 4 on next-gen consoles is going to be an incredible experience. It was a blast to play. You guys will not be missing out by playing the console versions, at least the next-gen console versions of that game. In short, there are going to be some really cool things coming down the line for the gaming community in general over the next few years as we progress past this launch stage and move on to developing some more advanced games for all the platforms. Tell you what, guys, it is a pretty exciting time to be somebody who enjoys a good game. Well, that's enough rambling about consoles for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this little chat. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the next-gen consoles and Battlefield 4 on them or on your PC. And I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.